Welcome to the Daily Jump. And today we're traveling to Ottawa and we're going to be speaking with Sebastian, who is an Ayurvedic practitioner and consultant. We're going to be delving into the power of what Ayurveda has to offer us in these times. Ayurveda, for those of you who don't know, is a system of medicine and wellness that comes from India. It's their ancient system. He's been in the business of Ayurveda for 8 years now, and he works in partnership with Dr. Shamna in India, an Ayurvedic doctor who we interviewed last week on the program. So Seb, I just want to really welcome you warmly to the show. I'm delighted that you're able to join us here today. And I'd be really interested to hear what you've been thinking about as far as recommendations for people right now to deal with the current situation, what's the best that Ayurveda has to offer us, some tips for people.
Yeah, so the nice thing about Ayurveda is that it's called a preventative medicine. So it's helpful, most helpful in unison and conjunction with other medicines. And so where other medicines lack is the daily work that we can do to help boost our immune system, to keep us strong physically, mentally, and to keep us activated. So the ways that Ayurveda can help with that, the best thing that I can recommend, honestly, is having some type of routine in your daily life. So even though if you're in quarantine or staying at home all day, and you don't have to get up at a certain time or get dressed or call certain people, it's very helpful to continue some sort of semblance of a life going on in our house. And one of the best ways to do that is to ground yourself in your body. And a good way to achieve that is with self-massage, or what we call oleation in Ayurveda. And that's the process of applying oil to your skin, which is the biggest organ in the body and gets very thirsty and dehydrated. But water doesn't hydrate us on our skin externally, so that's what the oil is for. So applying oil to your hands and feet and face, especially before bedtime, can be very helpful for helping you sleep deeper, longer, and better, which will mean your morning will be better, which will go into your next day, and so on and so on. So applying oil to your hands and your feet is very helpful. There's a process called nasya, so that's applying oil to your nose, inside your nose and or ears. And so that helps basically your whole face stay not just healthy, but to keep it moving. So there's constantly movement of the good and bad toxins that are being flushed through our system. And so it's this little oil, based sesame oil, and you take 2 drops in your nose, deep breath in, and you really taste it in the back of your throat. I do it pretty much every morning, and it's one of the most helpful things you can do for your facial skull health throughout the day. Another thing is certain herbs. The big ones that I'm going to mention are just trifla, which is the same idea of flushing things out. And that one you can find in health food stores, or I carry it here in Ottawa, or Banyan Botanicals in the States can deliver it to your house. So that's a good basic one. Another good one to help boost your immune system is ashwagandha, and those two can often be found next to each other. Those are kind of the 2 staple ones that can help 99.9% of people. So no matter who you are, what's going on, those are helpful things to do. The final thing I'll mention for your face is tongue cleaning. It's actually really simple to do. It's kind of this U-shaped metal rod, and you just use it to scrape your tongue. It's another thing I do almost every day, and it really helps maintain your oral health. It keeps things out of the gums and tongue, so whenever you eat things, you're absorbing the proper nutrients when you're with your saliva. Very simple to do. It takes you 10, 20 seconds every morning. So it's totally worth the time.
So can you talk a little bit about how each of these recommendations is tied to immunity specifically as well? Because my understanding is, particularly the nausea is good for immunity. But can you talk a little bit about your knowledge about that so that people can understand how those connect?
Yeah, it kind of works in two different aspects. The first aspect that is essentially it adds this protective layer coating. Then I'm talking about the nastia right now.
Yeah.
So the oil in the nose, but it's the same idea on the skin. It adds this protective coating around us, around our membranes, around our skin. And so it prevents a lot of dust particles and things from latching into our membranes. And so what that means is they'll just keep on tumbling through our system until we get rid of them naturally through our spit, saliva, mucus, going to the bathroom, sweating, any kind of those things is how we get rid of those toxins. So that aspect makes it's very logical. It just adds a protective coating to us. The other aspect is while there's this protective coating, there's this inner layer that is cleaning out our system. And so while that is, while we're being protected, it's also cleaning stuff out that has been there for a long time. Oftentimes that's how we get sick, is it's not that it's necessarily a new illness coming in, although right now that's the case, but in terms of our general health and immunity is the illness, the issue has been there for a long time, sometimes decades. And over the years of not having that protective layer, not cleaning you out, having the same diet can keep on adding and accumulating to this issue. And so if we make sure to clean ourselves out on a regular basis with the oil, with things like nastia, with the herbs I mentioned, and can make sure that we have a strong foundation when we go into new things like what we're dealing with right now, or creating a strong foundation when we really need it, like right now.
Yeah, yeah, kind of, by having those buildups, it brings down our immunity, so that we're more susceptible to new things in our environment, new things that we could be catching. So,
Exactly.
so if you're someone who hasn't been kind of detoxifying in some way, giving your body a break, which can be simple things, and maybe that's the next thing I'll get you to talk about. But the question specifically is if you haven't been doing some sort of detoxification, or your immunity could be a little bit lower and be more susceptible to new things coming in. Is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yeah, exactly. It's a mixture of you're essentially creating more of a surface area almost of things that can be latched onto. So when, let's say, the COVID latches onto you, if you already have some other type of issue or illness that it's latched onto, it might activate that initial issue that you haven't seen yet. So it can actually, you can feel two sets of issues, illnesses, or symptoms because you haven't cleaned yourself out recently enough.
Yeah. So, what do you have any recommendations for people to maybe do mild cleanses to help boost their immunity, or things they can do to kind of give their body a break if they haven't, if that's not been something they've traditionally done?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the best ways is actually the oleation, as I mentioned, because it adds this protective layer on the outside. So it's not so much cleansing as just adding a safe space for you to cleanse. So, or to do anything, but it's just adding that safe space. So it's more just immune boosting than cleansing. In terms of actually cleansing something, there is a host load of cleanses out there. Unfortunately, too many of them are either too strong or only cleanse areas that don't necessarily relate as much to the rest of the body.
Mhm.
Um, if from your interview with Dr. Shamna, she mentioned the digestion and the power of
Yeah.
digestion and how it can boost our immunity. So one of the best cleanses that we can do is for our digestion process,
Yes.
which doesn't typically mean weight loss or weakness necessarily. It just means that your digestion process gets some fire to it.
Yeah. So eating lighter.
Eating lighter. Something that I have found that works for me and other people that I've worked with on this is the mono diet.
Yes.
For people that don't know, the mono diet is essentially eating one type of meal every meal for, it could be one day, it could be for 3 days, it could be for a month, depending on how deep you want to go. But even one day can be very helpful in resetting our digestion process. But I would typically recommend 2 to 3 days.
Yeah.
And the mono diet is eating, as I said, one type of food. So that could be something very simple like just watermelon
Yeah.
that you can eat a lot of and fill up and eat it regularly, and it just flushes right through you.
Yeah.
Um, the Indian food that's used often is called khichdi. It's a mixture of beans and rice, lentils and rice, with some veggies. You can even add, potatoes, sweet potatoes, things like that to make it hearty. But you can make a large pot and eat that for multiple days in a row. So that's the Indian dish for a mono diet.
Yes.
But you really want anything that you can digest easily. So if you have a hard time digesting dairy, you're not going to make your mono diet pizza, right? So you want to find foods that digest easily, which usually is just simple foods, which means not too many variety of things, just plain rice or one type of fruit or one type of veggies, or a couple veggies, or a couple fruits max. You don't want to have 3 different courses in your meal and sweets and salties and lots of different things. You want to stick with one type of thing that your body likes and can digest easily. That's been the best detox I've found because it's not too strong. Anyone can do it. You don't feel weak, and you still get nourishment that you need. You're not starving yourself. You're not putting a strain on your body to achieve a certain goal. You're still living your life. You're just eating a little differently for a few days.
And my understanding too is that which food is most indicated for you, what type of mono diet depends on your constitution, because that's how Ayurveda works. Is it a professional like yourself would have a conversation with individuals and take a close look at their lifestyle, their eating habits, and determine kind of where the balances are and the unbalances are, and then recommend specifically what type of cleanse would be good for boosting immunity. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, exactly. So everything I've said today so far has essentially been for everyone.
Yes.
No matter what situation you're in, you can do all of these things I've mentioned.
Yeah.
But if you do a consultation with me and or Dr. Shamna, we can really tailor something for you specifically.
Yes.
Because yes, you're right. We have different body types. We have the Vata, Pitta, Kapha. And so my job is to find out what you are and what you have too much of. And then we talk about ways that we can balance your aggravations. And so a lot of that time would be taking away certain foods, adding certain foods, changing the time you eat. There's a lot of details that are involved with it, definitely.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and from my experience, I've been utilizing the advice and recommendations of both you and Dr. Shamna for 5 or 6 years now. Um, and ailments that I've had physically have completely gone away. Um, and, it's a very gentle way of um, nourishing the body towards health and well-being. So, Seb, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today and for giving us a little bit more insights into how this powerful system can be of service in these times. I'm going to put your information at the end of this video so that if your services could be of services could be of service to people that they could reach out to you. But I just really want to thank you. Are there any parting words of advice that you have before we sign off here?
All I want to say is take it day by day, everyone. We are just seeing what the world brings. This is forcing a whole new perspective, a whole new society, essentially. We're all individually together in this. And I think it's going to be very terrible at times, but by the end, we can learn a lot and grow a lot. And I hope that happens. And yeah, if you have any questions or want to talk about opportunities or what we can do together, then give me a call or email me with the information.
Great. Seb, thank you so much for joining us today
Thank
on the
you.
Jump.
All right.